gonna get started with my base. So I'm gonna be looking in my viewfinder, so sorry if I'm not looking right into the camera, but I have really large pores, so it's super important for me to use a primer, and I use the one by Dr. Brandt. It's the Pores No More Primer. This works really good for me, filling in my pores, especially since I have oily skin. It's pretty mattifying as well. So I just usually use one pump of that, and then I spread it out on my cheeks, my forehead, nose, and chin, and just kind of work that in. It really makes my skin appear a lot smoother when I use this. So this is the best primer that I have ever used, so that's why I think it is worth it to get a really good primer if you have issues like me with oily skin and large pores, rather than a drugstore one. But if you have any drugstore primers that work really well for you, leave me a comment, because this one is a little bit pricey, so I'm always looking to get a good deal. So next I'm going to be moving on to my foundation. I am in love with this foundation. This is the L'Oreal Visible Lift Serum Absolute. It's advanced age reversing makeup. Honestly, I'm in love with this foundation. I get so many compliments on my skin when I use it, which is just crazy because I have so many issues with redness and being oily, large pores, acne. So now that I'm in my 30s, I think that that is why this one works really well for me, because it has retinol A, vitamin C, a lot of good things for more mature skin. So I just do about 2 pumps of this, and then I start by working it in with my fingers, making sure I get it on my neck too. It's pretty close to my skin color, but you know, if it's like a shade or 2 off, you want to make sure that you work it into your neck so that you don't look strange. So after I get it like pretty much rubbed in, I just grab a foundation brush and then just kind of like buff that so that it looks really well blended. Then if I feel like I need a little bit more coverage, especially on my problem areas like my cheeks or my chin, then I will just add like a little bit more product there and just work that in. All right, so now that my skin's looking a lot more even, I'm gonna do some concealer. I always use 2 different concealers. The one that I use under my eyes right now is the Maybelline Brightening Creamy Concealer. This is an absolute must for me to brighten up my under eyes so that I look like I get a lot more sleep than I do. I always like to use concealer 1 or 2 shades lighter than my skin tone. So I just apply this in a little triangle under my eyes, so that if I have any dark circles, I make sure that those are taken care of. And then I also pinpoint conceal with a concealer that matches my skin tone. So this is the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. It comes in a ton of shades. So I just kind of like add it to any little spot. On my chin is mostly where I have my breakouts. And then, oh, I also add a little bit around my nose, because that tends to be where people have some redness. And then I just use a beauty sponge to just kind of blend that in. And just like pat that all over. And then if I am applying concealer, eyeshadow, then I'll just add a little bit of concealer on my eyelids to act as a primer. I don't have an eyeshadow primer. I should probably get one, but this works pretty good. So if you have any like redness or discoloration on your eyelids, then you definitely want to add a little bit of that to even out that skin color. Okay, so like I mentioned, I have really oily skin, so I set my whole face. If you don't have oily skin or you want like a more dewy look, then just go ahead and set where you use the concealer. But I just use a big fluffy brush, and this is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Powder. So I just use like a big fluffy brush and just kind of pat this all over to set it. And then I can apply a little touch-up of this throughout the day. It really gets rid of the shine and makes your skin look super smooth. Oh my gosh, this lighting makes me look so pale. We'll fix that soon. So now I definitely need to add a little bit of color to my face as well as some definition. So I'm gonna start by doing an easy contour. I always contour with powder. I just think it's so much easier to blend than using a cream contour. But I love this product. It is the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. It also smells really good. I use this all year round. So I have this sort of angled brush you can see. It's actually a contour brush. I think I got it at Marshall's. So I just get a little bit of the bronzer and then I just run it up and down the sides of my nose just to kind of slim that a little bit. I actually don't mind my nose at all, so I don't really need to shape it a lot, but I just think it's nice to add a little bit of color to the center of your face. And then if you do want to make it look a little bit more like a button nose, you can add a little bit of bronzer on the bottom and then right sort of 2/3 of the way down, and that just gives it a little bit more shape, you know, if you do want to shape your nose a little bit. So then I do have a really big forehead, so I do like to contour my forehead, so I just get a little bit more product and then I just run it along the edges of my forehead and it just makes it look a little bit smaller. And then I definitely like to contour my cheeks, so I just kind of suck them in and go right along that like upper part of the hollow of your cheek. And I definitely want to slim down my jawline as well. So again, I just run this right along the underside of my jaw. Just makes you look like you only have one chin, so that's always a good thing. All right, so that's all that I do for contouring. Again, super easy, not like really complicated, changing the whole shape of my face contouring. So next I like to add in blush. I love the look of a lot of blush, so I'm pretty heavy-handed with this. The blush that I use is my all-time favorite. This is pretty much the only blush that I use. It's like so worn out because I love it so much. It's the Baked Powder Blush in the shade Luminoso, and this is by Milani as well. I just love the color on this. So I'm just gonna grab my little blush brush by e.l.f. and then I do that awkward smile like, and then I add it right on the apples of my cheeks and then I blend it up. This color is so flattering, I think, and it also has a little bit of shimmer in it. So I use this blush for every day and I don't use a highlighter because again, it has a little bit of shimmer built right into it. So again, it's Luminoso by Milani and I just love this. All right, so for special occasions, I also add a bit of bronzer as well, just to make me look super glowy, give a little bit more color to my face. So the bronzer that I absolutely love is by Milani. This is in the shade Glow. It's a baked bronzer, so baked bronzers tend to have a little bit of shimmer to them as well. So again, that's great for like every day as well, so you don't have to add in a highlighter. You have a little bit of shimmer in your bronzer and in your blush. So I just use like a big fluffy brush. This one's by e.l.f. And then I just go over the blush and the contour. So I think that this just kind of blends it all together really nicely so that you don't have any harsh edges. And then I just sweep it over my forehead to give a little bit of like a sun-kissed glow. Slightly down my nose, and then I always bronze my neck. I just think it adds a slimming effect to your neck as well. So if you're a little self-conscious about your neck and your chin, just run some bronzer over it and it'll look a lot nicer. So then once I've done all those steps, then I just use that fluffy brush I used for my setting powder and just kind of like run it over the edges so that nothing's like super harsh. So next I'm going to tackle these brows. My brows aren't horrible, but I am a recovering overplucker. I fell victim to that pencil thin eyebrow craze like 20 years ago. Gosh, that makes me sound old. But as a result, my brows are a lot thinner than I'd like them to be. So I just start by brushing them up. And then I use the Anastasia Brow Wiz, and I use it in the shade Taupe. Can't get that to focus. It's just like one shade lighter than my brows because I don't want to be looking like Groucho Marx. So what I do is I start at the bottom and just kind of brush the edges that I want to create, and then I do the top. This is hard to do in the viewfinder. So once I've kind of created this shape, then I just use little tiny strokes to fill them in. So you can already see there's like a big difference between the two. It's crazy how much of a difference brows can make in the shape of your face. So I'm just gonna quickly do the other one, and then I'll show you what I do next. So my brows are filled in, so just to kind of soften the edges a little bit, I just brush them again. And then I also like to set them. So instead of using like an expensive brow gel, I just use clear mascara. And then I just, again, with the clear mascara, brush them upwards so that they kind of stay in place. Okay. All right, so now let's do the eyes. So I got this palette at CVS, which is just like my local drugstore. It is the L'Oreal Paradise Enchanted Scented Eyeshadow. It really doesn't have like a strong scent. Like, it doesn't smell bad, but I don't know, it doesn't smell like, I wouldn't think it's a scented eyeshadow palette. But anyways, whatever, that's not why I bought it. I bought it because it has lots of pretty pink colors in it, and I thought it would be really fun to create like a feminine pink eyeshadow look for Valentine's Day with this. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. So I always start out with my fluffiest brush, and I start with my crease. So I usually like to use a matte brown for that. And this palette actually has two matte browns. You can see right here and right here. So this one's a little bit too light. This one's a little bit too dark for me. So I'm just gonna mix those two together and then do the windshield wiper in my crease. Now when I do this, I tend to like do a little bit of circles on the outside just to intensify the outer corner. And then using like a really fluffy brush just helps to kind of blend it really nicely. All right, so that's all done. And then if it's a little bit too intense, you can always just use a clean brush and just kind of like blend it a little bit more. Like if you use too much, which sometimes I do. Okay, so now that that transition shade is on, I'm going to take this nice pretty pink right here and just sweep that all over the eye. So I'm going to use a bit more of a flat brush for that. And just like sweep it all across the lid. I have to say, I am pretty impressed with how pigmented these eyeshadows are for being a drugstore brand. So then next I'm just going to use the other side of that same brush, and I'm going to pick up this kind of darker rose gold color, and then I'm just going to do that more on the outer part of the eyelid just to like intensify that a little bit. I love rose gold. And then what I like to do is just grab that same fluffy brush we used at the beginning and just kind of sweep that across again just to kind of blend that. Alright, so before I go any further, I'm just going to take those matte brown shades again and just run that on my lower lash line. I don't like to apply like a heavy eyeliner on my lower lash line, so I just used that. Okay, and now I'm just going to apply some eyeliner off camera. I totally cannot do that on camera. I'm still a total amateur when it comes to eyeliner. Alright, my eyes are now lined, so now I'm just going to add a little bit of shimmer to this look. I'm going to use this sort of shimmery pale gold color in the corner, and I'm going to pop that in the inner corners to brighten that up. And then I'm going to add this sort of champagne color to the under eyebrow area. And then you can totally use a highlighter, but just for ease, I'm also going to just run this down my nose and on the tip of my nose to highlight that. And then you can also like pop that on the high points of your cheeks for a little more highlight. Since it is, you know, Valentine's Day, special occasion, you want to look super shiny. Too much. So now I'm going to curl my lashes. And then a product that I have totally been loving, I ordered this by accident on Amazon. It's the L'Oreal Voluminous Base. It's a mascara primer actually. So it looks so funny when you put it on because it's like stark white. So don't ever forget to put mascara on over it because you'll just look like an ice queen. But it just makes your lashes look so much thicker. So I love doing this because I just don't wear false eyelashes that often, so it just makes my natural lashes a lot thicker. And then I love using the Clarins Classic Black Mascara. I just love this mascara so much, so I don't mind spending a little bit of extra money on it rather than using a drugstore one. So then I just pop several coats of mascara on my lashes to make them super long and thick. So my eyes look a lot more awake now. Alright, so I'm definitely going to be using a pretty pink lipstick. If you've watched my channel before, you know I love a bold lipstick, but I definitely wanted to go with a nice soft pink because I'm trying to do like a really pretty feminine look. So I'm going to be using this one by Clarins. It is in color number 7, which is raspberry. I just love Clarins lipsticks. They are so comfortable when you wear them. Like it seriously feels like you're wearing chapstick. It's like that smooth and comfortable. So I'm just going to apply this all over. And then a really cool trick that I have been doing lately is to take a slightly lighter color. So this lipstick is by NARS and it's in the color Anita. So it's a little bit of a paler pink, and then you just apply it in the middle of your lips and it gives it a bit of an ombre effect, which I think is so cool. Okay, so that is it. I'm just gonna fix up my hair and I'll show you the completed look.